What if the very thing you've been praying for is already on its way, but you're blocking it by trying too hard? We've been conditioned to hustle, to push, to overthink, and then wonder why we're exhausted and still stuck. But here's the truth most people miss. Manifestation doesn't happen through force, it happens through flow. You don't have to make it happen, you have to allow it. And allowing starts when you relax, when you stop chasing and start trusting, when you stop doubting and start aligning. Think about it. The most magical things in your life didn't come when you were stressing 24/7. They showed up when you let go, took a breath, and simply believed. Even what feels impossible isn't beyond reach, it's just beyond resistance. And the more you surrender the how, the faster the what arrives. So if you've been gripping too tightly, trying to control every detail, this message is your permission slip. Relax, let go, trust the process. Because when your energy says, I already have it, the universe has no choice but to match it. And that's when miracles happen, effortlessly. Stillness isn't weakness, it isn't passivity, and it certainly isn't doing nothing. True inner stillness is the most powerful place you can operate from because it's where divine alignment begins. In a world obsessed with constant motion and noise, stillness is rebellion. It's you saying, I no longer chase, I attract. I no longer strive, I align. When your mind stops racing, when your soul stops grasping, you make space for the answer to rise. You stop drowning in the problem and begin floating in presence. Stillness is where you remember who you are, where fear no longer shouts and doubt no longer leads. Because in the quiet, the lies lose their volume, the worry loses its grip, and the voice of God, the voice of truth, becomes undeniable. You've been taught to hustle, to force, to figure it all out. But what if the most magnetic thing you could do is be still? What if clarity is born, not through thinking harder, but by surrendering deeper? Stillness isn't stagnation, it's preparation. It's the sacred pause before movement with purpose. It's the inner sanctuary where guidance flows, not from the mind, but from the spirit. So stop trying to fix everything through effort. Let your stillness speak for you. Let your inner quiet become your loudest declaration. I trust, I align, I already have. And from that place, watch miracles unfold. You may not see it yet. You may feel behind, delayed, forgotten. But hear this clearly. Divine timing is never late. What feels like a pause is not punishment, it's preparation. You are not being denied. You are being developed. In the stillness, something sacred is happening. The desire in your heart is not being ignored. It's being aligned. What you're asking for is also asking for you, but the version of you that can sustain it, steward it, and not sabotage it. And that version is being sculpted in the waiting. We often pray for the blessing, but forget that the foundation must come first. You can't rush divine architecture. If it arrives too soon, it could crumble. But in perfect timing, it's unshakable. God does not withhold good things. He orchestrates them with wisdom. While you wonder when it will happen, He's answering in ways you can't yet see. Every detour, delay, and silence is filled with purpose. So instead of fighting the timing, trust the timing. Let it mature your faith. Let it shape your patience. Let it deepen your roots. Delay is not the enemy. It's the evidence that something holy is being arranged. One day you'll look back and realize it didn't happen when you wanted, but it happened exactly when it was supposed to. Right on time, because divine timing doesn't move by the clock. It moves by alignment. And you, beloved, are right on schedule. Your mind will beg for evidence. It wants facts, guarantees, and step-by-step outcomes before it dares to believe. It says, show me, and then I'll trust. But the spirit within you whispers a different truth. Trust, and I'll show you. Faith does not operate by logic. It moves by alignment. The mind calculates based on what's been seen. The spirit creates based on what's felt. When you live from the mind alone, you limit yourself to probability. But when you live from spirit, you tap into possibility. This is not blind hope. This is your highest intelligence, because what the mind calls impossible, the spirit calls inevitable. Real wisdom isn't found in proof. It's found in presence. And presence knows what truth feels like before it ever shows up. You don't have to see the whole staircase to take the first step. You don't need a visible door to know the way is open. You just need to move in faith, as if it's already done, and when you do, the unseen starts organizing on your behalf. Faith is not foolish. It's the language of creation. The most powerful things in life, love, peace, vision, destiny, aren't proven before they're lived. They are felt, trusted, embodied, and then revealed. So, when your mind screams, "Where's the evidence?" let your spirit answer, "It's already done." The proof you're waiting for will appear after you believe. Fear has a loud voice, but it lies. It predicts a future full of loss, rejection, failure, and heartbreak. But here's the truth. Fear is a false prophet. It doesn't speak from divine insight. It echoes your past wounds, your old disappointments, and your unhealed memories. Fear will always try to prepare you for the worst. It will convince you that by worrying, you're protecting yourself. But protection isn't preparation for pain. It's alignment with power. You weren't called to brace for disaster. You were called to expect miracles. God never writes a script rooted in anxiety. His story for you is one of goodness, provision, restoration, and peace. When fear rises, it's not a warning. It's a signal that you've temporarily forgotten who's writing your story. The more you rehearse fear, the more you begin to live under its prophecy. But the moment you interrupt it with truth, it loses power. Fear says, "What if everything goes wrong?" Faith replies, "What if everything turns out better than I imagined?" Your future is not a repeat of your past. What didn't work before doesn't define what's possible now. You're not called to be ruled by fear. You're called to walk by faith, to believe in abundance, and to speak from divine expectation. Stop preparing for breakdown. Start preparing for breakthrough. Because fear is not your guide. God is. And His forecast over your life is miraculous. Manifestation doesn't begin with wanting. It begins with being. You don't attract what you wish for. You attract what you believe you are. Every desire you hold is a mirror, not of what you're reaching for, but of who you're ready to become. If deep down you still see yourself as unworthy, overlooked, or lacking, the world will echo that belief. Not because it's true, but because you've identified with it. Life is not reacting to your words. It's responding to your identity. You must step into the version of you who already has the thing. Not someday, not when I'm ready, not once it shows up. Now feel how that version breathes, speaks, thinks, and moves, and start aligning with them today. It's not about faking it. It's about remembering who you already are in spirit. That healed, loved, chosen, successful version of you isn't waiting to be built. It's waiting to be recognized. As you shift your identity, your reality must shift with it. Because the universe doesn't give you what you beg for. It gives you what you align with. So stop saying, "I want." Start saying, "I am." Stop asking, "When will it happen?" And start declaring, "It already is." You don't become by achieving. You achieve by becoming. Identity first, manifestation second. Everything you're asking for is already yours. You just have to become the one who receives it. You are always creating, whether you realize it or not with effort, not with force, but with assumption. Assumption is the silent language the universe responds to. It's not what you say, it's what you believe is already true. You speak to the universe through your identity and emotion, not by pleading, but by dwelling in the feeling of, "It is done." What you assume about yourself, your future, your worth, that becomes the command that reality obeys. Every assumption is a seed. If you assume you're always overlooked, that seed grows into more evidence of rejection. But when you assume you're favored, supported, and chosen, you shift your entire atmosphere. The world cannot help but reflect that belief back to you. This isn't fantasy, it's spiritual law. The moment you emotionally accept something as real, you enter alignment. And alignment is where manifestation begins. You don't manifest by hoping harder. You manifest by living from the state of the wish fulfilled. When you assume you already have it, you no longer chase. It comes to you because you're no longer in the energy of lack. You're in the identity of possession. So choose your assumptions wisely. Let them reflect the highest truth, not your old fears. Because life isn't responding to what you want. It's responding to who you believe you are. Assume the best, embody the end, and watch the universe obey your silent decree. Gratitude isn't a reaction, it's a signal. It's not just good manners. It's not just something you do after the blessing arrives. True gratitude is the emotional signature of fulfillment, the sacred whisper that says, I already have it. When you give thanks before you see the evidence, you are not pretending, you are aligning. You're telling your subconscious, this is real, this is done, this is mine. And your subconscious, the seat of your reality, believes it, accepts it, begins to organize everything around it. Gratitude is how you claim a thing in spirit before it arrives in form. It's how you signal to God, the universe, your higher self, I trust, I receive, I no longer doubt. When you live in gratitude, you step into the vibration of answered prayer, and what matches that vibration must come. Fear says, what if it doesn't happen? Gratitude says, it already did. One delays the manifestation, the other pulls it closer. You don't need to figure out how, you just need to feel the outcome as already done. Gratitude makes that feeling real, so don't wait until the money shows up, the healing happens, or the relationship appears. Give thanks now. Walk through your day as if your prayer was already answered. Smile like you've already received. Because the moment gratitude becomes your natural state, manifestation becomes your natural experience. Gratitude doesn't follow the miracle, it invites it. It may feel like life is paused, like the doors aren't opening, like you're stuck in some divine delay. But the truth is, you're not waiting on the world. The world is waiting on you. The outer isn't holding you back, your inner state is. It's not the circumstances, the people, or the timing. It's the version of you that you're still embodying. Life isn't reacting to your desires, it's reflecting your decisions. And the most powerful decision you'll ever make is to become the version of you who already has what you desire. You don't need to push harder. You need to shift deeper. The world doesn't move until you do. Not physically, but energetically. The moment you realign with the fulfilled version of yourself, the world begins to bend in your direction. People call, doors open. Coincidences begin to unfold, but they were never random. They were waiting on your readiness. Not your readiness in action, but your readiness in identity. Every breakthrough is unlocked by inner movement. Every delay is just a mirror asking, have you chosen yet? Have you assumed the end yet? Are you living from it or still looking at it from afar? You are the signal. You are the catalyst. The universe is not late. It's responsive. And it is waiting for your yes. Change your state, and the world will catch up. It always does. True power doesn't announce itself. It doesn't force, chase, or perform. Spiritual power is not loud. It's certain. It's the quiet knowing that you are aligned with something far greater than circumstance, opinion, or outcome. Real authority doesn't raise its voice. It doesn't need to, because certainty speaks louder than sound. When you are rooted in truth, when you know who you are and what's already yours, you don't need to convince anyone. You simply embody it. The calmest person in the room is often the one with the most influence, not because they are passive, but because they are anchored. Anchored in faith, anchored in identity, anchored in the unseen reality they've already accepted as true. That kind of calm shakes things. It shifts rooms. It silences doubt, not with argument, but with presence. And that's what spiritual power is, presence without performance. It moves mountains not by force, but by unwavering inner alignment. Certainty in the unseen makes you unshakable in the seen. You stop reacting to chaos. You stop needing proof. You no longer seek validation because you're too busy living from vision. So don't underestimate your quiet confidence. That still, inner yes is more powerful than 1,000 shouted affirmations. When you move in spiritual certainty, the world begins to respond to your stillness. Not because you shouted it into being, but because you stood in the truth until it appeared. Faith isn't passive. It's not wishful thinking or blind hope. Faith is spiritual architecture, the invisible framework that holds up everything you are calling into form. It is the bridge between your imagination and your reality. Every desire begins as formless energy, a picture in the mind, a feeling in the heart, but it doesn't become real through logic. It becomes real through faith. Faith is the construction crew of the unseen. It takes your vision, your emotions, your inner yes, and begins building the bridge from possibility to experience. You don't need to know how. You just need to keep walking across that bridge. Every time you visualize, affirm, feel it as done. Every time you return to the feeling of the fulfilled desire, you are placing another brick in the path from spirit to form. Faith says, though I cannot touch it yet, I trust it is done. And that trust becomes magnetic. It draws resources, people, opportunities, whatever is needed to complete the vision. When you persist in vision, you're not being delusional, you're being devoted. Devoted to the truth that inner reality precedes outer reality. Devoted to the belief that the universe always responds to what you consistently hold as true. So if it's not visible yet, don't step back in doubt. Step deeper in faith. Because faith is the only bridge strong enough to carry your dreams from the invisible into the visible. And it never breaks when you keep walking. Alignment isn't something you earn. It's not something you have to chase, strive for, or figure out. It's where you came from. Your natural state is peace. Your default is clarity. Your birthright is inner knowing. You're not lost. You've just forgotten. Fear didn't create distance. It created amnesia. It told you that you're disconnected, unworthy, off path. But alignment isn't a location out there. It's a frequency within you, and you return to it the moment you pause. And remember, you don't have to become someone else to feel whole again. You just have to become who you were before fear, doubt, and striving took over. The one who trusted easily, the one who believed without needing proof, the one who felt safe in stillness. Returning to alignment is a gentle homecoming, not a struggle. It's not about fixing your life, it's about realigning with your spirit. It's about peeling back the layers of noise, obligation, and false identity until you find that quiet center where peace already lives. So stop asking, now how do I get aligned? Start asking, what have I believed that pulled me out of alignment? And let those beliefs go. The real you isn't broken. The real you isn't behind. The real you is waiting for your return. And when you come back, not to who the world told you to be, but to who you truly are, everything begins to align around your remembering. Because peace was never gone. You just forgot it was always yours. Your thoughts are not just thoughts, they are commands. Your body listens. Your cells respond. You think a fearful thought, your heartbeat quickens. You imagine joy, and your face softens. Your physiology is a mirror of your mind, but it doesn't stop there. Just as the body obeys the mind, the world obeys the soul. What you embody internally becomes your vibration, your broadcast to the universe. And the universe doesn't respond to what you want, it responds to what you are. You can speak affirmations all day, but if your soul is vibrating lack, you will still attract experiences that reflect that frequency. Why? Because the universe doesn't hear your words, it feels your state. This is why embodiment matters. When you fully feel your truth, when you walk, speak, and move as the version of you who already has it, life bends. Not because you forced it, but because you became magnetic to it. Embodiment isn't pretending, it's alignment. It's choosing to inhabit the energy of the fulfilled desire until the world can't help but mirror it. You don't attract from desperation, you attract from resonance. So if your outer world feels stuck, ask, what state is my soul living in? Shift that, embody that, because when your mind commands peace, your body follows. And when your soul radiates fulfillment, the world rearranges itself in response. The outer must obey the inner. That is the unshakable law of creation. You are always rehearsing something, whether you realize it or not. And it's not just mental repetition, it's emotional rehearsal. The feelings you revisit daily become the energetic blueprint of your future. Every time you dwell in fear, lack, or disappointment, you're rehearsing a version of life that hasn't even happened and calling it forward. You're practicing the emotion of loss, and your energy begins to prepare for it. Not because you want it, but because you're emotionally aligned with it. The universe responds to emotion, not intention. You can say you want abundance, but if you're constantly rehearsing scarcity in your body, tension, worry, dread, that becomes your magnetic field, and life mirrors that state. But here's the power. You can reverse the rehearsal. You can consciously rehearse joy, success, love, peace, even before anything changes. You can train your nervous system to normalize the feeling of fulfillment. And once that becomes familiar, reality begins to match it. This is not make-believe, it's energetic conditioning. The more you emotionally experience your desire as already done, the more inevitable it becomes, because your body and energy stop bracing for the worst and start aligning with the best. So rehearse the right future, feel it now, walk through your day as if it's already yours, because when the feeling becomes natural, the result becomes unavoidable. Emotional rehearsal is not fantasy, it's faith in motion, and what you feel consistently, you live eventually. You are not waiting for life to start creating, it already has. The moment you imagined it, the process was set in motion. The moment you felt it, believed it, and emotionally accepted it, creation began. You are not waiting on the universe is waiting on you. Because creation doesn't start when the results appear. It starts when you send the signal, when you decide in consciousness, this is mine. The universe does not initiate, it reflects. It doesn't lead, you do. It doesn't ask what you want, it mirrors who you are being. That's why nothing changes until you do, not in effort, but in identity. Too many people are waiting for a sign, a breakthrough, a shift in circumstances, not realizing that all of it is already responding to their current inner state. The delay isn't in the delivery, it's in the alignment. You don't need to force anything into being, you just need to become the one it's already coming to. That's when life unfolds effortlessly, because it's not catching up to your prayers, it's catching up to your embodiment. So instead of wondering when it will happen, ask yourself, what am I still assuming that keeps it from arriving? Then change that assumption, shift your focus, live from the end. Because creation is not something you wait for, it's something you activate, and it has already begun the moment you believed. If this message spoke to your soul, take a breath right now and let it land. You don't have to force, beg, or chase anymore. You are allowed to relax and trust that everything is already moving in your favor. Remember, the impossible only looks that way until it arrives. And it always arrives faster when you release resistance and come back into flow. If this resonated with you, go ahead and give this video a thumbs up, subscribe if you haven't already, and tap the bell so you never miss these soul reminders. Now, I want to hear from you in the comments. Type, I choose to relax and receive if you're ready to let go and allow the miraculous to unfold in your life. Your words carry power. Let that be your declaration today. Until next time, stay grounded, stay trusting, and keep creating from peace.